Let's get right into it. The definition of MGTOW is choosing not to marry or cohabitate with women. The first subtype of MGTOW, and I think is the largest subtype, is the PUA subtype. And these guys, they have not given up on women. They still desire to meet women and date women. And they enjoy female company. They enjoy the feminine energy around them. They enjoy sex. And women are very important to them. And as a result, they care a lot about their sexual marketplace value, their SMV. And they also really go on about becoming the best version of yourself. And one thing I want to note here is that they don't have a monopoly on becoming the best version of yourself. There's other subtypes of MGTOW. There's even non-MGTOW out there who believe in becoming the best version of yourself. But these types, they tend to think that the other MGTOW are kind of lazy or slobs or losers or betas, and they look down on them. And ironically, these guys don't realize they themselves are MGTOW. And they also believe in constant game and constant maintenance of frame in all situations of life, not just dealing with women, but in business, in everything. And they also believe in something called, basically, men have the burden of performance. In other words, that men have to strive and overcome regardless of the challenge presented. And that includes women. And part of being a man, in their opinion, is failure, but then getting back up and trying over and over again. And that's good, and I do admire that spirit, but at the same time, they look down on others who have totally checked out. And I also want to note this group of MGTOW also includes the pump and dump type of MGTOW. Not all of them are ultra red pill, but maybe simply subscribe to the whole pump and dump ideology. At the core of it, they're competitors. They take great pride in who they are. And there's a touch of narcissism to them too, which is a good thing. I mean, it helps them stay grounded and project an air of confidence, which is good. Some examples of the PUA subtype of MGTOW would be Richard Cooper, and you can check out his YouTube channel, Entrepreneurs in Cars, Aaron Clarey, and Gray Bailey. While I disagree with how they look down on other MGTOW and look down on men who have given up on dating altogether, these guys are red pill, especially when it comes to interacting with women and dating. And they do have a lot of knowledge to offer. The next subtype of MGTOW would be the MRA subtype of MGTOW. And this type of MGTOW, they are fighters. They want to take the fight to feminists legally and politically. They want to reform the laws. They want to reform the family court. And these guys have a ton of common sense and wisdom to offer. And it's really reinvigorating and refreshing to listen to their content. Sometimes you even see them have bouts of rage, and you can sense the passion. And some examples of this channel would be Big John, I Have the Penis. His old channel got deleted, MGTOW is Freedom, but you can check out his new channel, Society for Men's Freedom. Another example of the MRA type MGTOW would be Sydney MGTOW. Check him out. Again, these guys, they fight to bring back masculinity and to be proud of it. These guys, they speak out against feminism and the bullshit that's being spouted. So we really need them, and these guys, at the core of it, they're freedom fighters and they're optimists. They're great leaders as well. Now, the next type of MGTOW, these guys get a lot of coverage and because quite controversial to men in the manosphere. This is the monk subtype of MGTOW. These are basically men who've sworn off women altogether. They may not completely be celibate in that they may masturbate or they use a fleshlight or even sex dolls. And they really encourage sexual independence from women. They don't want to play the game. They don't want you to partake in anything that could lead to you being abused and used by women. And they still believe in the best version of yourself and dedicating yourself to goals and to passion, but they don't flaunt it and advertise like the PUA subtype because they don't care about SMV. They don't care about that outwardly projection of yourself to be this alpha, outgoing person because they don't need that validation, essentially. These are the big thinkers of MGTOW, and some of them really fun to listen to. They tie in history, politics, psychology, and biology, sometimes even religion. They're creative, open-minded, and entertain ideas about the future based on patterns from the past. Some examples here would be Turd Flinking Monkey, TFM. Check his channel out. It's great content. Sandman for more daily, shorter content. If you've ever listened to some of his longer interviews with other MGTOW, he's actually very, very red-pilled and just as red-pilled as TFM and deep too. Again, this monk type can also include people who simply realize that women aren't worth it anymore. They just aren't worth the energy or peace of mind that they have to sacrifice to get with them. And they want to spread their wisdom. Basically, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze. And one young YouTuber, definitely check out Sunrise Hoodie, and also shout out to Marcel Enlightened. These guys, they have a ton of case studies to offer of their own worldly experiences and their thoughts on MGTOW and the world itself. And I think it's definitely worth checking out. And now the last type of MGTOW, the least liked MGTOW, unfortunately, and the rest of the subtypes don't like talking about this subtype. They kind of shun them and pretend they don't exist. And the PUA subtype pretends that this subtype is all of MGTOW. This is the Incel subtype of MGTOW. And I think we should embrace them with open arms and treat them with respect as fellow men. I think it's very unfortunate that we judge fellow men like that, like how women would judge them, and it's just wrong. So the incel subtype have basically freed themselves from the self-loathing and sexual frustration and validation centering around SMV and female approval that incels suffer from. Incel subtype of MGTOW basically let go of trying to attract females and increase their SMV. They just moved on, and they want to focus on themselves. And this allows them to focus and divert that energy into their goals and passions, and perhaps it can be creating wealth, maybe even if it leads to materialism, hedonism, or even an escape such as video games or any other hobby. At least they are not as angry and suffering with as much pain as a pure incel. Now, one thing I do want to comment is everyone plays video games, okay? The PUA type plays video games, the monk type plays video games, MRI type may play video games too. The incel subtype gets the bad reputation as the angry MGTOW in the mom's basement who hates women and just plays video games all day to escape reality. And that may be a phase of it, that may be a part of it, but in reality, the true MGTOW who are also of the incel subtype, these guys basically have renounced women and are focusing on themselves now. And I think that's a great thing. They've basically elevated from incel. They are basically enlightened. They want to focus on themselves. And this allows them to fiercely go after what they want out of life and grab it with their own two hands. And these guys may either practice celibacy, or they might rent out escorts. They might go to Asian massage parlors, or even go to Thailand, sex tourist places, and get what they could not have gotten while they were incels because of their low SMV possibly. And they do tend to carry a certain level of hate towards all women, especially at first, because they have internalized that they will never be genuinely loved or lusted after by an attractive woman for who they truly are because of their low SMV. But as they become MGTOW, they have much less hate and anger than your average incel, and they tend to gain more confidence, they tend to gain more happiness and be at peace with who they are. Now, outwardly, they may come off as assholes. Other men might not like them. The women definitely don't like them. They see them as pigs of men. But hey, it's better being a hated asshole that gets what they want rather than a self-loathing incel who is just unhappy and depressed. Now, again, I do want to emphasize that we should warmly embrace them as fellow MGTOW and respect them as fellow men. SMV should not be a basis for a man to judge a fellow man. I think that is extremely wrong because that's how women judge men, and us men should not be judging men like that. And I'm looking at you, PUA subtype of MGTOW, and PUAs in general, who just look down on incels and incel subtype MGTOW and just stomp all over them. The mainstream media is doing this, women do this, and instead of extending an arm to your fellow man Everyone wants to take a shit on incels, and that's not okay. And even on incel MGTOW, and look, we're all about promoting independence for men and focusing on themselves and, right, like we said, becoming the best version of themselves and pursuing their own passions. So when an incel becomes a MGTOW, they should be applauded. Again, they're using MGTOW to heal and grow, because to them it means a way of letting go of pining after women and not basing their masculinity or self-worth or on SMV or female validation. They no longer have to compete. Now remember, I mentioned the PUA subtype is all about competition at the core of it, pride, and a touch of narcissism. Now these guys, competition is painful. They suffer from the competition. The accompanying pain of being last pick or being undesired altogether is just not worth it for them. Now, MGTOW is their safe haven from the game that allows them to live a more fulfilling, positive life and seek out happiness on their terms, completely unrelated to the game and women. And again, the PUA subtype do not like that. They want everyone to partake in the game so that way they can measure each other up and compare. And while I get competition is a part of male nature and is masculine, when you're making it mandatory that everyone has to partake in your game because you're good at it, like, come on. And especially with the abuses that women do to men and the legal culture today, it's just not worth it, man. Now, another thing, be kind and understanding to incels, because a lot of them, the reason why they've identified as being incels, they blame it on their genetics. They might be even suffering from poor mental health. They might have crippling anxiety, depression, a rough upbringing, maybe even beyond the autism spectrum. And these guys, they may have been in some accidents. They may have deformities, birth defects. Look, all of this plays a role, and it may not be in their control, okay? And there are fellow men and our brothers. We have to look out for them and not stomp down on them. And so I just want to remind everyone that be nice to your fellow MGTOW regardless of how they became MGTOW, regardless of if they were an incel or a cuck or a beta man or a simp or a white knight in the past. It's all forgiven. Forget that. Now we have to focus on becoming more masculine, on focusing on ourselves and protecting ourselves and building wealth and knowledge for ourselves. All right. If you like this video, please leave me a comment. Give me feedback, positive or negative is appreciated. Give me recommendations. Also, any video requests will be appreciated. Let me know how I'm doing. This is my first video.